I wish I could say I didn't know what I was doing. But I did. I was performing. It was a Thursday girls' night that slid from charcuterie to mean-spirited by the second bottle. Jules put on a playlist, Priya opened the second rose, and I, who should have shut up, started narrating my relationship like it was a podcast with no consequences. Be honest, Jules said, leaning across my coffee table. Is the bedroom compatible? I could have said, we're fine. I could have said, that's private. Instead I chased the laugh. Let's just say Leo's not exactly a handful. There are jokes you can only tell alone, in your head, and still feel small afterward. I told one out loud. Priya snorted. Jules did that awful thumb and forefinger gesture. I laughed because my body has confused attention with oxygen since high school. I made a worse joke. I made myself sound like a martyr of bad luck. It got the laugh, the big one, the one that makes your cheeks hot. The front door clicked. Our door is the kind that sticks unless you hip check it. I hadn't heard it open because the music was up and my mouth was running laps. The laughter ebbed like a wave going out too fast. I turned and saw Leo in the entry, gym bag over his shoulder, keys in his palm like he'd walked straight into a punch. He didn't say a word to my friends. He didn't say a word to me. He walked to the bedroom, set the bag on the bed, pulled open a drawer, and started packing with the quiet competence he uses to solve every other problem. Priya whispered, "Oh God." Jules mouthed, "Do we?" I said, "Just give me a minute," and padded down the hall with knees that felt like I'd borrowed them. The bedroom door was open. Leo was rolling socks together like he was folding patience. "Leo," I began. He held up a hand in a gesture that wasn't dramatic. "Just a boundary you can see." "I'm not doing this with an audience," he said calmly. "Mia, I heard enough." I started to say kidding, like that word is the magic eraser for cruelty. He zipped the bag and looked at me the way you look at a painting you suddenly realize you never liked. "You're a smart woman," he said, voice level. "You know the difference between humor and humiliation." I reached for him. He leaned back just enough that my hand found air. It was worse than a slap. "I'll email you tonight," he said. "Please don't text." He walked past me, past the coffee table strewn with crackers and a small, ugly throne I had built out of someone else's trust. He nodded once to my friends like a man leaving a meeting early, closed the door with care, and was gone. Jules stared at me. "Say something." "I think I already did," I said, and the laugh that cracked out of me sounded like a stranger's. They stayed for 10 minutes because nobody knows the right etiquette for when your friend detonates her relationship in a sentence. Priya hugged me and whispered, "That was out of pocket." Jules stacked plates and said, "Text him a real apology. Not a meme." When they left, the apartment felt too bright, like my lamps were judging me. At 9:18 p.m., the email arrived. Subject: boundaries/logistics. "I'm staying at my brother's for now. Please keep communication to email for the next 2 weeks. No texts, no DMs through friends, no surprise visits. I'll pick up my remaining things Saturday 10 to 12. If you'd prefer, I'll arrange a civil standby so nobody feels cornered. Release. My name is on it. I'll pay my half through the end of the month. After that, either we both renew with clear terms or I remove myself. It's your call. I won't leave you stranded. I'll return the spare key when I come by. Please box anything you know is mine, climbing gear, blue toolbox, the chess set. Last thing, I won't be discussing our private life with anyone. I'd appreciate you not turning me into content for brunch." Lao. He didn't threaten. He didn't beg. He arranged. He gave me the respect I hadn't given him and made it feel like penance. I typed and deleted a dozen responses. My fingers tried to write paragraphs that made me the protagonist. I'm pressured. I was performing. The wine got to me. I backspaced until the screen was white and wrote 2 sentences instead. "I'm sorry. I humiliated you. I understand if you don't want to talk for a while." Then I closed my laptop, so I wouldn't add anything that would rot overnight. At 10:02 p.m. my phone buzzed. Not Leo. A group chat. "Jules, You have to own it tomorrow. Priya, do not call him tonight. Give him the dignity he gave you. Jules, and Mia. Don't joke it off. You're not a stand-up comic. Me, I know. I barely slept. I kept replaying the gesture, the tiny, cruel pinch of fingers that I had laughed at and then mirrored, as if I was auditioning for a role I didn't want. I thought about all the little ways Leo had made our life easier without a monologue. Fixing the cabinet hinge, installing the shelf I'd eyeballed, packing snacks when I forgot to eat. You don't notice someone's competence until you try to live without it, and the bookshelf tilts at a judgmental angle. Friday morning, HR pinged me with a memo about respectful workplace culture, and I had to sit with the fact that I carried the habit everywhere. Dressing cruelties as honesty, adding an audience for flavor. Nobody at work knew what I'd done. It still applied. I sent a longer email around noon. Not an excuse, an inventory. I made our intimacy a joke. I wanted laughs more than I wanted to protect you. That's on me. I won't involve friends. I've already told them I crossed a line. I boxed your climbing gear and marked the toolbox. The chess set is by the door. If you want to leave your name on the lease through renewal, I'll put the difference in writing and notarize it. I won't make you the villain to our landlord. He replied later. Received. Thank you for boxing. Saturday window stands. Saturday he arrived with his brother and a large, polite distance. I'd made coffee because my reflex is hospitality when I should be offering humility. He shook his head at the mug I held out and said, I'm okay. He moved through the apartment with that same quiet competence, checking drawers, counting bolts in the toolbox like he trusted measurement more than people. At the door, he set the spare key in a ziplock on the console, and, in a gesture that split me open, stacked the takeout menus he knew I used most into a neat pile. You'll forget to eat when you're upset, he said, voice unchanged. Please don't. How do I fix this? I asked. The words sounded young. You don't, he said. You learn from it. Maybe someday there's a version of us that knows how to be kind in front of other people. He paused, then added, but I can't unknow what you just taught your friends to think of me. Privacy is trust. You turned it into entertainment. He left. I sat on the floor and ate cold dumplings with my fingers like that might qualify as punishment. My mother called on Sunday because she can detect despair through walls. I didn't give her the viral edit. I told her the truth. She inhaled like she'd burned her tongue. Oh Mia, she said softly. You thought being modern means forgetting manners. Then, because she is not one to let me sit in melodrama, she added, people survived whole marriages before social media by keeping their mouths shut. I started doing things that felt small and adult and not at all theatrical. I deleted the thread where my friends and I had built an economy out of gossip. I texted them separate apologies that did not include the phrase, but also. I booked therapy and put the intake forms presenting problem, as I confuse attention with approval. I took the doormat outside and shook it until dust made my eyes water. On Tuesday, Leo sent a final email with a PDF attachment labeled lease options. 2 columns, both renew versus remove my name. Under both renew, he'd highlighted a paragraph about clear splits and a note to document expectations so nobody feels trapped. Under remove my name, he'd listed the steps to sign a release and offered to cover the relisting fee if the landlord required it. At the bottom, a sentence. Either way, I'd like to be fully moved out by the 1st. No hard feelings. No drama. I'm choosing peace. He wins by refusing to perform rage. He wins by treating me like a person who can read, sign, and grow. He wins by leaving with his dignity and letting me keep every bill my jokes racked up. A week later, I ran into him at the climbing gym. I shouldn't have gone. I didn't know where else to put my hands. He was belaying his cousin. He saw me, nodded once, and didn't invite conversation. It was the kindest thing he could do. Not turn my apology into an audition. I didn't chase him to the parking lot. I bought chalk, did 3 routes badly, and walked out with my forearms aching in a way that felt like penance and potential at the same time. I'm not going to pretend I'm healed. I'm the girl who made her boyfriend's body a punchline because her friends were bored. But I am not going to be her again. I started a list on my fridge called things that don't belong to the group chat. His habits, our fights, our bodies, our finances, our family secrets, my need to feel impressive. When Jules starts to veer into someone else's business, I change the subject. When I want to laugh, I send a meme that isn't someone's humiliation in a wig. I sent Leo one final email last night. Not to win him back. Just to put something solid on the record. I'm sorry for breaking the circle around us. Thank you for handling the exit with kindness. You didn't owe me that. I won't reference you online or with friends again. If anyone asks, I'll say we're not together because I failed our privacy. I hope you're well. He replied this morning, thanks. Wishing you the best. It's not a door. It's weather. It's right. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. She turned their intimacy into a party trick, and he didn't explode. He packed a bag, set respectful boundaries, and chose peace over performance. If you liked this video, please subscribe for more. Thanks and see y'all tomorrow.